This is a Glitterball podcast. Before we get into today's episode, please remember I'm judging these housemates based solely off of an edit and not as total people. Please don't send them any hate, it's just a game show. It's time for another double eviction, and we have the most perfect task to talk about. Welcome to your eviction episode for the penultimate week of Big Brother UK. From Glitterball, this is He's Always Watching, a Big Brother podcast. Hello Fishbowl friends and welcome to the eviction episode for week 6 of this series. Who will be joining Jordan and Ali as our next civilian Big Brother winner? Well, we don't have long to find out. 7 days, in fact. But before that, we have to talk about the double eviction and the housemates taking on the most perfect task ever of having the perfect day in the Big Brother house. And my God, to give you the Cliff Notes version, I don't think I've ever laughed so hard at a task as I did this. But we will get into all of that. Let's first start with the headline news of the evictions, however. So the housemates' rapid nominations saw Jenny, Caroline and Nancy facing a double public vote. So only one would survive out of the 3. And I can't believe I called it. I said to you in the last episode that I thought this week would be a double, and ta-da! The funny thing is, I actually saw a tweet about that after I'd finished recording the episode. So I must have just been on the right wavelength, I guess. This was an interesting trio to have up for eviction, I think. And we'll come to the nominations a little bit later on properly. I'm glad, though, that the public finally got their opportunity to tell Caroline what they thought of her, quite frankly, because I feel like Caroline has been very lucky in the last few weeks that she has had that immunity or twist or what have you to prolong her journey, because I think had she not had those advantages, she probably would have been out a couple of weeks ago, because I think there really was a turning point for the public reaction to Caroline, and she was almost at risk, if she'd managed to not get nominated this week, of potentially outstaying her welcome, I think, to a majority of people. I don't know if I fit in that majority. I'm kind of a bit on the fence about Caroline, because, and we'll get into this later, we've seen some things that I'm like, So, I do think, however, the right two went in this eviction. I believe that the correct two went, and Jenny staying is probably the right decision. It's rare that I will agree with a British public voting decision, but here I think the right one was made, because what more could Nancy give us? And really, what more could Caroline give us? Because now she's switched gears from winding up Richard to winding up Tate. And that's only going to get you so far, because Tate doesn't play along quite as well as Richard does. So I feel like the clock was ticking for Caroline. And unfortunately, it hit 12 and she turned into an eviction-styled pumpkin. Sorry, I had to follow the analogy through. You get the point though, right? Like, I feel like she'd almost outstayed her welcome, or the time was fast approaching, and ta-da, the public got to tell her what they really thought. Speaking of evictions, apparently we're only going to have one more backdoor eviction before finale. So does that mean we could end up with 7 people? 7 people. Isn't that like half the house in the finale? Don't love that. gonna be honest, don't love that. Probably needs to be a double backdoor eviction, if I'm honest. Get it down to the final 6 at least. Don't love that at all. 7 people in a finale, way too many. You gave us an extra week, ITV. How did we get here? Well, how we got here is you did the fake eviction, look, which was a great television moment, but I don't know how there was not a plan made to avoid this situation. Because you had 7 weeks this time. Do you know what? I'm beginning to wonder if they did a full 12-week series, I think somehow we'd probably still end up with half the house reaching the final. And maybe they need the 12 weeks to actually get rid of enough so you have a 4-5 person finale, because clearly they're just not good at evicting people. I really do not understand it. I don't get it. I'm like, you guys, 7 is way too many for a finale. It's just wrong. I also question why it has to be another backdoor eviction. Why not just schedule another live show for Tuesday and boot another one out the front door? We have had more housemates go out back doors or doors they didn't enter in than actually come out that front door this season. And that to me is absolutely ludicrous. Because everybody you hear them speak, we had Dean say to me, part of the experience is coming out that front door. That is what people go on to this show to do. They want the full experience, and then, oh no, you rob them of that opportunity to be greeted by the crowd and do that whole thing. So why not make it a proper eviction on the Tuesday or the Wednesday, or pull an Australia and do an eviction the day before? So do live show Thursday, live show Friday, bam bam. I don't know. I'm just saying there's got to be a better way than backdoor evicting, because sure, that can be good when it's done well, but like the firework one didn't really do much for me. The backdoor evictions that are good are like the eviction letter from home that Maddie received, and there has to be a better solution than constantly backdooring contestants, because it doesn't really speak to the spirit, and it reeks to me of, we put too many in, we've got to get them out, time to go. And controversially, I don't actually think you need 7 housemates in a final for a final week to be entertaining. I'm just gonna say, because surely if there's say even 5 or 6 of them, right? So not that many less, just maybe 2 more. Surely that gives you a chance to really hone in on these characters, maybe show a few different sides we haven't seen yet, or expand on some of the ones we've only seen a little bit, so that the public have a fully rounded view of these characters, or these people, but this character version of them, because we're seeing an edited version, so it's not them as a whole person. Why not give the public a more well-rounded, detailed view, so they are choosing a winner off of something like that? Thank you for sitting with me as I got on my soapbox there, but I think it's an important issue to think about going forward, because there has been so much about this series that is really, really great, and we're going to get into one of those moments after the break when we talk about potentially the best task of this entire season. I really love this, but I do think something like the eviction structure needs to be really looked at, because they've done a lot of things really well this season, but clearly they're just not good at evicting people, and I think that really does need to change. But after the break, we will get into the perfect day task, and we will look ahead to the final week. And I am finally going to tell you who my updated winner's prediction is. I'll see you in just a second. Hello, friends, and welcome back. It is time to talk about the perfect day. Well, they tried. It is, of course, the shopping task the housemates received, and I think this is my favourite task of this series. Absolutely nonsensical, chaotic, hysterical behaviour. Whoever came up with this one needs a raise, because this is how you do a one-day task. This was perfect. Did not need to be stretched over 2 days. Perfectly chaotic as a one-day task. And my God, I absolutely loved seeing the housemates go backwards and forwards to bed. Whoever thought of this, bravo, because this was so funny. From Richard absolutely losing it, to Kate continuing to lose the spatula catapult thing. This was just dumb in such an entertaining way. You know, when something is so stupid, it's just perfect? That's this. I could not stop laughing at how stupid and outrageous this was, because really at the core of it, it's such a simple thing. Yes, Tate needed to catch his food with the tray. They needed to find the clocks. But then the perfect task part being you have to get this ball from that tube out into the garden to the final target. So simple, yet so difficult. And I was like, this is perfect. As much as I was laughing at earlier parts of this task, I really did feel for the housemates, because they had done so well after being sent back to bed, 11 times? That they'd gotten there. And I was like, this is evil, but so simple. Like, this was just really ingenious planning. I don't know why we can't bring this level of planning to the evictions. I'm just saying. But nevertheless, this was an absolutely brilliant task. And I have to say, bravo, because they actually gave us a different spin on nominations with the speed nominations. Look, the reasonings weren't anything spectacular or crazy or anything like that, obviously, because they're under the pump. But I think this was smart, because we are now 6 weeks into this adventure, so it gave us something new as viewers to the traditional nomination format. Because let's be real, they are 6 weeks into this situation, into this environment. There is still 8 of them left, but, well, now there was 10. They're not really going to be able to come up with super new reasons for nominating, because they're all kind of ingrained now. So this was smart, I think, to give it a fresh angle and give the housemates a new challenge when it comes to nominating, because I think the pressure really did kind of just put all of them on the spot. We have to talk about Nancy speaking like she was a sped up YouTube video, because how do you do that, madam? How do you actually pull that off? I was like, this is very impressive. Confusing, but impressive. This task was just absolutely brilliant. I also really enjoyed Elsa's diary room entry later on, going, how was your day, Elsa? And she's like, it was meant to be the perfect day, but it wasn't. I don't know what switch has flicked in Elsa, or whether there's just more space in the edit now that we are seeing more of her, which it's probably the latter rather than the former. But I now understand why she was in that house. Because when she pipes up, she really does just sort of center of attention the camera. And it's not always a good thing, but especially in that diary room and things like that, she is just really, really entertaining to watch. So I actually think I understand the Elsa hype now, because if that is how she is on her TikTok, then I can understand why she's so popular. Because of course you want to watch that. Of course it's entertaining, and of course that would get her put in a situation like this. And I think it's a damn shame that we are only really now in week 5, week 6, getting to see more of that side of Elsa, now that her markers have kind of mellowed out. So it's a bit of a shame, really, but I'm glad we're getting to see it nonetheless. But before I leave you, I promised you some predictions about the final week, so here we go. If we do a backdoor eviction, I think Tate's probably in trouble. Maybe Tasia. If it's a double, I think it could be both of them, and maybe Marcus is in trouble. In terms of a winner, now this one is tricky. I don't actually remember my first winner's prediction that I think I gave you in the launch impressions episode, so we will revisit that and this prediction when we wrap the season a little later on. I think the winner could well be Richard. My runner-up's actually Elsa. I think maybe she could surge ahead and come out as the winner. Am I mad at it? Surprisingly, no. But I really do think it's a slim horse race in the fact of there's only like maybe 3 or 4 of these housemates that I could see actually being winner material. So I'm very intrigued to see the way that this goes with the British public. So for heaven's sake, vote. If you have a favourite, vote to save them. Or vote to win so they are saved and can take home the win, whoever it is. Because, yeah, I can't really pick this. If it was who I wanted to win, it would probably have to be Richard. Because he has been such a central point of this series and also been willing to play the game when he needs to, that I'm like, okay. Although I'd still love to know the difference in what we have seen of Richard on screen, because Richard on screen seems to be clearly totally polar opposite to the Richard that Caroline has experienced. And I have some questions about that one. But there you go. That is your lot for the last episode of the penultimate week of this series. I can't believe we are just a week away from finale. This time next week, we will have our winner. So thank you for joining me. If you have enjoyed this episode, please share it with a friend and leave a 5-star rating on whatever podcasting app you're listening on, because it really does help us get out there. And you can vote on the polls over on the Bird app, on Spotify, and on our Instagram story. So please do. I would love your opinions as we head into this final stretch. But that is not all, because this week we have the Big Brother overlap. What is that, you ask, Ross? Well, Big Brother Australia is also returning. So you will be seeing a lot more of me as we dive into what I'm sure will be quite the roller coaster of a ride as Big Brother returns to its roots at Dreamworld and its live original format. So we will dive into all of that. So buckle up, because there is plenty more He's Always Watching to come as we crown a winner in the UK and say hello to a whole new bunch in Australia. If there's something these last couple of episodes has shown me, it's the joy of this show. Like, that was such a stupid task, and That is why I love this show. It is the absolutely outrageous things we get to see these housemates put through. So thank you for joining me. I will see you very, very soon for even more. And in the meantime, remember, Big Brother's not the only one who's always watching.